Speaking of which, Amy's blood type.
God, I don't know. I have to look it up at the house.
You don't know if she has friends, you don't know what she does all day, and you don't know your wife's blood type.
Sure y'all are married?
That is Ben Affleck in the movie Gone Girl, whose character becomes the prime suspect after his wife Amy disappears. The movie is based on the New York Times mega bestseller of the same name. It's a book that came out 10 years ago, and to mark the anniversary, a new edition of Gone Girl is being released with scenes that were never published before. Author Gillian Flynn joins us now with her only broadcast interview. She's going to read one of those passages. But before we get to that, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me here after all this time.
Yes. 10 years, wow. When you think about the legacy of this book, what is it?
I think about, the thing I'm proudest of is it opened a lot of doors for other books that similarly wanted to deal with female protagonists who were not so nice. Because when I first tried selling my very first book, which was Sharp Objects, you would not have believed the number of publishers that turned us down because they said, men don't want to read books by women.
Wow.
And women don't want to read books about women that they can't aspire to be like.
Wow.
That aren't likable.
Wow.
And
So the complexities of these female characters, it sets you back a little bit.
At the time I thought, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Right.
So originality is risky then. Originality is risky.
It is risky.
I mean, when your book first came out, there was really nothing like it. And even since, no one says, if you like Gone Girl, read this, because there was nothing like what you had done.
And I think even more today, it's a little trickier. I think the publishing market's gotten a little more nervous, and I think people want, do you have a platform, or do you settle comfortably in this sort of genre? And here I'd written a book where it's a whodunit, where you find out whodunit halfway through, and told by two pretty unlikable narrators, and all these kind of different things. But all I knew when I finished writing it was I would read this book.
Now, speaking of this book, there's something special about this edition, right? You've added in never before published excerpts from this book. But you have a section that you're going to read to us, right? From the perspective of Amy.
Should we sit cross-legged in like a little circle?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. At the library?
Story time.
Can we get some popcorn?
And this is from the perspective of Amy, the missing woman.
Dramatic reading.
All right.
Shall I do it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right.
Please.
Yeah, so my thought was 10th anniversary, very cool to reissue it, but I always tell people, how do you, when they ask me, how do you write? And I say, you write by making a lot of mistakes. And I thought, well, why don't I prove it?
Okay.
And it's basically figuring out your character as you go along. And so this was a very early version of Amazing Amy.
Of Amy, okay.
Wow.
Explain myself in a way my parents approved, a way that made them believe they were creating the perfect child. I do believe they had the best of intentions to create an incredibly happy, super productive, thoughtful, and proactive child. What they did was create a bit of a monster. It became entirely impossible to be me. My parents' great experiment failed. Rather than develop a personality of my own, I learned to mimic the kind of personality I thought suitable for the occasion. I could do almost anything, think almost anything. I could smell out what other people thought and wanted and hoped for. And then, if I deemed it worthwhile, I could give them the person they wanted for a child, a student, a friend, and later a lover. They had created a perfectly whole human, as long as you were looking at me from the outside. The inside, it was quite wonderfully empty.
What does it mean to you, Gillian, as you sit here today, when publisher after publisher told you men don't, A, want to read a book written by women? That surprises me. And two, that women didn't want to read this kind of book. 6 million books later, and now your 10th anniversary, and you're still adding something new. What does this mean to you personally, and how has it changed your life, the movie and the book?
For me, it's mostly very fortifying. I mean, it mostly is that idea. I had been a reader voracious reader my whole life, and when I had started my first novel, thought I would really like to write a female narrator who's not perfect, who's got lots of troubles and
Flawed,
is
right?
very often not likable and does the wrong things. And I thought, the anti-hero has been around as a staple of literature for a zillion years.
Well,
and
you
why
should
aren't
feel-
I seeing more of that?
You should feel very fortified. John Grisham walked in and said, "Hi, John. I'm John Grisham." And it was nice to see the exchange
Yeah,
between
it was
the two of you.
amazing.
Yes,
And you got
yes.
Powerhouse
you are your
authors.
own first reader. You got to trust your instincts. Gillian Flynn, you did that. 10th anniversary of Gone Girl on sale right now.